Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to our homestead. Egg prices are skyrocketing again. They are out of control. So today we're going to briefly talk about that, but I'm going to talk about how you can start raising your own backyard chickens and everything that goes along with that. Let's go. All right, first, let's talk briefly about why egg prices are rising once again. And it's a little bit different in each state, of course. But there's another big outbreak of bird flu, and it is hitting the California poultry farms the worst. That's why you see the average price of a dozen eggs in California at over $8.30. That bird flu outbreak has caused these farms to have to cull millions and millions of chickens. It's absolutely out of control. Did you know that since late 2022, there have been over 100 million chickens, turkeys, and other poultry that have been culled in the United States? That's of course going to send prices skyrocketing because of the shortage of eggs. These outbreaks of bird flu are mostly only happening in large commercial producers, and mostly egg producers. And it is my opinion that these outbreaks are happening because of the way that we raise these birds. They are jam-packed into these chicken houses where they're not cleaned very often, and the bird flu can just run rampant. So they have to cull the entire flock. There's another small additional thing that might be adding to the cost of the eggs, and that is because 10 states have enacted cage-free laws. Ultimately, I think that might be a good thing to help control that bird flu by giving each chicken more space. But in the short term, more space per chicken means fewer chickens, which means fewer eggs, which means higher price. And even down here in Texas, I've seen an 18-pack of eggs for over $12. That's insane. Now we're going to talk about how you can take control of those rising prices by raising your own backyard chickens and how to do it. So contrary to popular belief, chickens are actually really easy to raise, and they're quite friendly. And they absolutely love these treats that I give them all the time. This is a good source of calcium for them as well. These are black soldier fly larvae. You guys are monsters. Woo! Let's see what kind of gold we've got in our nesting boxes today. I've got one hen in here right now. Have you laid anything? Oh yeah, wow. Look at this. Cash money. Look at that. I just came out and there's like $5 worth of eggs just sitting here every single morning. So where do you start raising those chickens? Well, the number one thing is you need some place to put them. So you need a coop and a run. So make sure you have a secure place to keep your chickens. Make sure you have a secure coop to keep your chickens. It needs to be secure, and it needs to have locking doors at night because, of course, everything likes to eat chicken. So every coop is also going to need a secure run outside so that they can get fresh air, get sunlight, move around, scratch around, look for bugs, forage, and all of that. That's really important. So the amount of space you're going to need for your coop is about 2 to 3 square feet per bird. And that's highly recommended so that you can place all of your food and water inside, which I highly recommend you have space for your roosting bars and also your nesting boxes. Make sure for your run outside, it's either fully enclosed or, like for us, we have this electrified fence. And if you don't do it manually, I highly recommend that you get a locking exterior door for your coop. One that closes just after it gets dark, after your chickens go inside for the evening. A few years ago, I solved the issue of our chickens not going inside the coop at night. Chickens have poor eyesight, and they need a little bit of light to be able to see, and they move towards it to go in at night. So I have a light bulb in there on a timer that stays on for maybe an hour or 2 hours after it gets dark outside so that they can see, move in, and then the door closes. Planning and designing your coop is one of the most important things you can do. So if you start off with a great space in a good sunny location, then you're going to set yourself up for success. But you need to put those things in it that I talked about earlier, and get them spaced properly. Let's head inside and I'll show you how ours is set up. Okay, down here I've got our nesting boxes. These small nesting boxes from Hen Gear are the roll-away style, and that prevents our chickens from eating their eggs. But each one of these small nesting boxes is good for up to 20 hens. They all share the space. Although, if you heard them earlier, they kind of do fight over it. So I've got 2 of them in here for our 14 hens. But you can also see sometimes it's just not enough. Sometimes it's too much. It's kind of silly. Depending on the chickens too, they will share the space also, so that's not a big deal. You can also see between the nesting boxes, I have a dust bath for them. This is diatomaceous earth. It's important to have a dust bath for them somewhere, either inside or outside, so that they can keep the lice and mites off themselves. You can see our hens enjoy this outdoor space, and they will dig holes so that they can have a dust bath out here as well. Some hens enjoy that, but you need to give them the space to be able to do that. So it's going to be a little dirty right now. They've kicked up a lot of dust in here. This is our automatic watering system. It's connected to a hose here at the back, and it's got a float valve in it. I made this on a video a few years ago. It's the same one, and it works perfectly. If you want to see the video for that, click on the link at the top of the screen. Then of course I swing over to the side and I've got our automatic feeders, which I also did a video on. You can check that out in our chicken playlist. And then for our roosting bars, you can see that they are separated in a step-like format. Now this is important to step them because some chickens sit on the lower roosting bars and some sit on the upper roosting bars. And at night, they are pooping a lot. And you do not want your chickens on the lower bars to get pooped on by the ones on the upper bars. So you need to step them out and separate them like that. Now there's always been a big debate on how big to make your nesting bars. For us in here in the new coop, we just made them 2x4s flat laid on their sides, and that seems to work well for our chickens. But we've used round roosting bars before of a certain diameter, 2 inches or above. Those worked well also. If you are in a cold area, then you can do this, which gives them the ability to lay down over their feet at night and keep them warmer. Now with these roll-away style nesting boxes, there is no bedding on the inside, and that is completely fine for the chickens. They do not need bedding in the nesting box. However, if you're using something like a milk carton where they go down inside of it, obviously put something in there so that the eggs don't break and the chicken is comfortable when they're laying. But ours lay just fine in these with no bedding inside them at all. I've got numerous videos on these Hen Gear nesting boxes. If you're interested in those, click at the top of the screen. I also have a coupon code for them in the description below the video. Now I want you to notice the ventilation we have in here also. You have to have good ventilation in your coop for 2 reasons. They need fresh air, and that fresh air exchange is important. But this also helps mitigate moisture in the coop, which is the enemy of any coop because it breeds disease. But you do not want your ventilation near the top of your roosting bars. And that reason is because in the colder temps, you don't want to draft on them at night when they are trying to roost and sleep. And that's also going to invite sickness and disease for your flock as well. So keep it away. Ours is over here. The roosting bars are way over here. Friends, once you get your hens, it's going to take about 6 months on average for them to start laying. And don't be surprised if some take a little bit longer. It's dependent on breed. Also, the number of eggs that they lay is going to depend on breed. I did a video years ago about chicken breeds and some of the best ones to get, and we stuck with those until today. If you want to check out that video, click at the top of the screen. The 4 breeds that we have, Easter Eggers, Leghorns, Barred Rocks, and Rhode Island Reds, all lay upwards of 200 to about 250 eggs per year. That will fluctuate as well with the weather and weather changes. And it will also fluctuate with age as well. So our Barred Rocks and Rhode Island Reds are almost 4 years old, and they have slowed down their laying quite a bit. Keep that in mind that you may have to keep adding chickens to your flock as some of the older ones slow down if you're looking solely for egg production. One of the last things I want to talk about is where to place your chicken coop. Now, I did mention a sunny place before, but I highly recommend you put it close to your house. Now, in a flock this small, there is no smell at all, so you don't have to worry about that. And the reason you want to put it close to your house is so that you can keep an eye on your chickens. Because looking at and observing your chickens every single day is important to see if there's any signs of disease, any signs of distress in your chickens. If one is sick, you might want to separate it out from the flock, etc. If you have a bigger property and they're far back on your property, that's going to be a lot harder to do if your coop is way away from your home. So for all you first timers, there's one thing you're going to have to get used to, and that is chickens peck each other all the time. They're actually fairly mean to each other, so that's something you're just going to have to get used to. The other thing I didn't mention is if you are in a subdivision or you do still live in the city, there may be restrictions on the number of chickens you can have, if you can have them at all, and if you can have a rooster at all with them. So before you start anything, you need to check that out first. If you are still living in the city, I might recommend one of these tiny little coops for you, and that is only good for 1 to 2 chickens max. It's just got a little inside space here. It's got a little tiny run at the bottom. I use this as my quarantine coop for if any of my birds get sick. I can nurse them back to health in here so that the rest of my flock doesn't get sick. But if you're in the city, this might be a good option for you. I did a video review on this little one right here. You can click on that at the top of the screen if you want to see it. Okay, friends. Have fun. It's really easy to get started with chickens. It's really easy to take care of them. There's not a lot that you have to do. They don't need constant care. You can set up automatic feeders and waterers for them if you want, and roll away nesting boxes so where you don't have to be out there every single day with them. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Now go click on this series of videos right here, which shows you how we built our coop out of a shed we bought from Lowe's. Have a beautiful, blessed day. See you next time. Bye.